Top 10 Disgusting Real Events from Medieval Times. Welcome to another delightfully revolting episode where we dive face first into humanity's greatest hits of historical horror. I'm your host, and today we're exploring why medieval times make a gas station bathroom look like a 5-star spa. If you thought your Monday morning was rough, wait until you hear about these charming folks who thought bathing was literally the devil's work. Let us be real here. Everyone romanticizes the Middle Ages like it was some kind of Renaissance fair with better costumes. Spoiler alert. It was basically a 1,000-year-long episode of Survivor where nobody knew the rules. Everyone was covered in their own filth, and the immunity challenges involved not dying from diseases that sound like Pokemon names. Number 10. The Great Stench of London. When a river became a toilet, picture this. It's 80, and London's Thames River has become humanity's largest outdoor bathroom. We're talking about a waterway so toxic it could have been used as chemical warfare. The smell was so overwhelming that Parliament had to soak their curtains in lime just to meet without vomit. That right, grown men who made decisions about empires could unhandle sitting in a room because of river stench. The best part? This wasn't some medieval accident. This was intentional city planning. Someone actually thought, you know what this drinking water needs? More human waste. It is like if modern city planners decided to route all sewage through Starbucks locations and called it an efficiency improvement. Medieval Londoners were basically living in a real-life version of that friend-ass apartment where the smell hits you before you even open the door. Except instead of dirty dishes and forgotten takeout, it was centuries of human waste creating a bouquet that could knock a buzzard off a garbage truck. The Thames during this period was less river, more liquid nightmare. Fish died just from existing in it. People got sick from walking near it. The river was so contaminated it achieved sentience and started plotting revenge against humanity. Okay, maybe not that last part, but honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. Number 9. Medieval dentistry. When your barber was also your surgeon, nothing says quality healthcare like getting your teeth pulled by the same guy who cuts your hair and occasionally removes limbs. Medieval barber surgeons were the original multitaskers. Except their multitasking involved combining haircuts with amateur hour surgery, using tools that looked like they were designed by someone who only heard dentistry described in a fever dream. These dental procedures made modern root canals look like spa treatments. No anesthesia, no sterilization, no clue what they were doing. Just raw determination and a complete disregard for the concept of pain management. It was like extreme sports. Except the sport was how much agony can one human endure before passing out. The medieval approach to tooth pain was essentially yank it out and hope for the best. Infected tooth? Pull it. Crooked tooth? Pull it. Perfectly healthy tooth that looked suspicious? You better believe they'd pull it. They had the same relationship with teeth that modern people have with expired milk. When in doubt, throw it out. And the tools? Oh! The tools were masterpieces of medieval engineering. If by masterpieces you mean nightmare fuel designed by someone who clearly had personal beef with human mouths. We were talking about metal implements that looked like they were borrowed from a medieval torture chamber-esque clearance sale. Number 8. The Dancing Plague of 1580. When partying literally killed people. Imagine if flash mobs were deadly and nobody could stop dancing. That's exactly what happened in Strasbourg when hundreds of people started dancing and couldn't stop. Not could unstop like your uncle at weddings. Could unstop as in dance themselves to actual death. This wasn't some fun medieval rave. This was a legitimate medical emergency where people danced until their feet bled, then kept dancing. They danced until they collapsed from exhaustion, then got back up and kept dancing. It was like someone created the world's most twisted dance marathon where the prize was death. The authorities' solution: hire more musicians and build bigger dance floors. Because clearly, what people dying from compulsive dancing needed was better music and more room to dance themselves into the grave. It's like responding to a house fire by adding more fuel and calling it a controlled burn. Some folks danced for days straight. Days. Without stopping. Modern people complain about being tired after a 3-minute TikTok dance. But these medieval party animals were out here pulling all-nighters that lasted weeks. Talk about commitment to the bit. The whole thing reads like a rejected script for a horror comedy. What if people started dancing and couldn't stop? Sounds like the kind of idea you'd pitch after too many drinks. But medieval Europe said, "Hold my ale! Let's make this a historical event." Number 7. Medieval medicine. When bloodletting was the universal solution, medieval doctors approached human health like IT support approaches computer problems. When in doubt, turn it off and on again. Except instead of restarting your computer, they were draining your blood and hoping you'd reboot better. Feeling sick. Bloodletting! Broken bone, bloodletting, plague symptoms. Definitely bloodletting. Stubbed your toe. You guessed it. Time to drain some blood. Medieval physicians had the same approach to medical treatment that a hammer has to every problem. Everything looks like a nail when bloodletting is your only tool. These medical professionals were basically vampires with diplomas, except vampires at least had the decency to drink what they took. Medieval doctors just let it drain into bowls like the world's most expensive and pointless fountain. The theory was that illnesses were caused by an imbalance of bodily humors. So naturally, the solution was to remove one of those humors until you either got better or died. It was like trying to fix a car by randomly removing parts until it either ran perfectly or exploded. My favorite part is how confident they were about this approach. No hesitation, no second guessing. Patient comes in with a headache? Time for some therapeutic blood loss. It's that level of medical certainty that only comes from having absolutely no idea what you're doing but being too proud to admit it. The success rate of medieval medicine was roughly equivalent to flipping a coin, except the coin was loaded on fire, and the stakes were your life. But hey, at least the bloodletting was thorough. Number 6. Trial by ordeal. Medieval justice system's greatest hits. Medieval justice was like a game show where all the games were designed by sadists, and the grand prize was not dying horribly. The legal system basically said, "We can't figure out if you're guilty, so let's see if God wants to barbecue you." Trial by fire involved holding red-hot iron or walking on burning coals. The logic was that if God thought you were innocent, you wouldn't get burned. It's like medieval lawyers watched people get hurt and thought, this needs more fire and religious justification. Trial by water was equally brilliant. They throw accused people into ponds and see if they floated or sank. If you floated, you were obviously a witch and got executed. If you sank, congratulations on your innocence. Sorry, you're dead now. It was a legal system designed by people who clearly failed basic logic courses. The best part was trial by combat, where legal disputes were settled by fighting, because nothing says justice like determining property rights through sanctioned violence. It was like Judge Judy, except instead of verbal sparring, people literally tried to murder each other for the court's entertainment. Medieval judges basically looked at complex legal questions and said, you know what this needs? More potential, death, and divine intervention. They had the same approach to justice that reality TV has to entertainment, maximum drama, minimum actual problem. These weren't even rare occasions. This was standard legal procedure. Imagine showing up to traffic court and the judge hands you a sword and says, settlement time? That was just Tuesday in medieval justice land. Number 5. Medieval surgery. When amputation was considered precision medicine, let's talk about medieval surgery, where the operating room was whatever flat surface happened to be nearby, and the anesthesia was a wooden stick to bite down on. These surgical pioneers approached human anatomy like a drunk person approaches IKEA furniture, with complete confidence and absolutely no understanding of what they were doing. Medieval surgeons were essentially butchers who got tired of working with dead animals and decided to try their luck on living humans. The survival rate for major surgery was roughly the same as your chances of winning the lottery while being struck by lightning during a shark attack. But hey, at least they were optimistic about it. The amputation process was a masterclass in medieval efficiency. Step 1. Find a saw. Step 2. Find someone strong enough to hold the patient down. Step 3. Start cutting and hope the patient passes out before you hit bone. Step 4. If they survive, call it a miracle. If they don't, blame God's will. It was like a medical procedure designed by someone who'd only heard surgery described through interpretive dance. Infection wasn't a concern because they didn't know what infection was. They just knew that sometimes people turned interesting colors and died after surgery, which they attributed to bad humors or evil spirits. It never occurred to them that maybe using the same unwashed tools on multiple patients was on the pinnacle of medical hygiene. The post-operative care was equally sophisticated. Basically, they'd wrap your stump in whatever fabric was handy, say a prayer, and see what happened. Medieval hospitals had the same sterile environment as a medieval stable, which is to say, none at all. Patients were lucky if their beds weren't actively decomposing. But the real kicker was the confidence these surgeons had. No hesitation, no second opinions, just pure medieval swagger. Got a broken arm! Time to remove the whole thing! It was medical decision-making by someone who clearly believed that subtlety was for weak. Number 4. The sweating sickness. When your immune system rage quit, nothing says fun plague. Like a disease that killed you in 24 hours flat. The sweating sickness was like the express lane of medieval death. All the horror of dying horribly. But, with the efficiency of modern fast food, this disease had the courtesy to not drag things out like those amateur plagues that took weeks to finish the job. The symptoms read like someone's fever dream of the worst possible day. Sudden fever, delirium, heart palpitations, and sweating so profuse that people literally dripped themselves to death. It was like your body decided to have a complete meltdown and took you along for the ride. The medieval response to this plague was peak medieval logic. They blamed it on everything except the actual cause. Bad air, sin, planetary alignment. Someone probably blamed it on witches practicing aerobics. The idea that maybe their living conditions were basically biological warfare never seemed to cross anyone's mind. What made this plague special was its impressive speed. People went from healthy to dead faster than it takes to microwave leftover pizza. Medieval folks would wake up feeling fine and be corpses by dinner. It was mortality with the efficiency of an Amazon Prime delivery. The sweating sickness had the audacity to be picky about its victims too. It particularly loved the wealthy and educated, which honestly was probably the most democratic thing that happened in medieval England. Finally, a disease that didn't discriminate based on social class. It just killed everyone with equal enthusiasm. King Henry VIII's court got hit so hard they had to keep moving the royal household around like a medieval game of musical chairs with death. Imagine being so unpopular that even diseases specifically target your social gatherings. Number 3. Medieval childbirth. When having a baby was basically Russian roulette, medieval childbirth made modern delivery rooms look like luxury spas. The maternal mortality rate was so high that getting pregnant was essentially playing lottery with death, except the odds were worse and the prizes were either a baby or a grave. The medieval approach to obstetrics was let's see what happens and hope for the best. No medical knowledge, no sterile conditions, no understanding of basic anatomy. Just a bunch of women standing around giving advice based on superstition and folk. Wisdom passed down from other women who probably died in childbirth. The birthing process involved more prayers than a televangelist convention, and about as much actual medical intervention. Medieval midwives had the same relationship with obstetrics that astrologers have with astronomy. They used some of the same words but had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. Complications during delivery were handled with the medieval medical community's favorite tools, herbs that probably made things worse, and religious artifacts. It was like trying to fix a car engine with a prayer book and some random plants from the garden. The infant mortality rate was so astronomical the medieval parents did uneven name their kids until they were sure they'd survive past the first few years. It was like having children on a trial basis. Let us see if this one makes it to walking before we get emotionally attached. Medieval birth control consisted of hoping really hard and maybe wearing some amulet. The result was that medieval women spent most of their adult lives either pregnant, recovering from childbirth, or dead from childbirth. It was reproductive health care designed by people who clearly had never met a uterus. The whole system was so dangerous that surviving childbirth was considered a minor miracle. Medieval women faced motherhood with the same enthusiasm modern people approach root canal surgery. Necessary, terrifying, and probably going to hurt way more than anyone admits. Number 2. Medieval toilets and sanitation. When privacy was optional and hygiene was imaginary, let's talk about medieval bathroom etiquette, where the concept of personal space died, along with basic sanitation. Medieval toilets were basically holes in the ground with delusions of grandeur. The fanciest castles had communal toilet rooms where nobility could defecate together while discussing politics. It was like a boardroom meeting, except everyone was literally conducting other business. The medieval sewage system was whatever happened to be downhill from where you were standing. Rivers, streets, neighbors, gardens, everything was fair game for human waste disposal. Medieval cities smelled like what would happen if a porta-potty manufacturer had a nervous breakdown and decided to scale up production to citywide levels. Castle toilets were engineering marvels in the worst possible way. They built elaborate chutes that dumped waste directly into the moat or surrounding areas. Imagine attacking a castle and realizing the moat was unfilled with water. It was filled with centuries of royal Talk about biological warfare! The wealthy had slightly more sophisticated arrangements, which meant their toilet holes were longer and sometimes had seats. But the waste still went to the same place. Wherever gravity and architectural incompetence decided to put it, medieval plumbing was like modern plumbing's embarrassing ancestor, who never learned to read and had questionable life choices. Public toilets were community experiences, where privacy was a foreign concept and hygiene was whatever you could manage with, whatever was handy. Medieval people had the same relationship with toilet paper that modern people have with time travel. It was a nice idea that didn't exist yet. The whole sanitation situation was so bad that medieval people thought bathing was dangerous. They literally believed that washing your body would make you sick while living in conditions that would make a garbage dump look pristine. It was collective delusion on a scale that would impress modern conspiracy theorists. Number 1. The Black Death treatment methods. When cure was worse than disease. And here we are. The crown jewel of medieval medical incompetence? Black Death treatments that made the plague look like the reasonable option? Medieval doctors looked at a disease killing 1/3 of Europe and thought, you know what this needs? More creative ways to torture the dying. The treatment options read like a medieval torture menu with medical pretensions. Bloodletting for people already dying, burning aromatic herbs while patients suffocated. And my personal favorite, lancing the buboes and draining the pus. Because nothing says healing like puncturing infected swellings with medieval surgical precision. Some brilliant medieval minds decided the cure was to place live chickens on the plague bubo. The theory was that the chickens would absorb the disease, which worked about as well as you'd expect. Medieval medicine had the same success rate as throwing darts blindfolded, except the darts were on fire and aimed at dying people. The religious treatments were equally effective. Flagellants roamed around, whipping themselves and others, believing that enough self-inflicted pain would convince God to stop the plague. It was like a medieval version of extreme performance art. Except the performance was mass hysteria and the art was public self-mutilation. Medieval physicians prescribed everything from crushed emeralds to unicorn horn powder. The fact that unicorn horn was expensive and didn't exist didn't stop them from prescribing it with complete confidence. It was medical treatment by fantasy novel, where the more ridiculous the ingredient, the more effective it must be. The real tragedy was that some of these treatments probably killed more people than the actual plague. Medieval cure rates for Black Death were roughly equivalent to the survival odds of a medieval surgery patient being operated on by a Barber during an earthquake. But hey, at least they tried. Medieval medicine approached the Black Death with the same optimistic incompetence they brought to everything else. They may have been completely wrong about everything, but they were consistently wrong, and that's gotta count for something. And there you have it, folks. 10 reasons why time travel to the Middle Ages would be the worst vacation idea in human history. If this historically accurate horror show made you appreciate basic modern conveniences like soap, antibiotics, and toilets that don't double as community gathering spaces, then smash that like button harder than medieval justice smashed literally everything. Subscribe to Midnight Meme Historian for more delightfully disturbing deep dives into humanity's greatest hits of historical stupidity. Because if we don't learn from the past's mistakes, we're doomed to repeat them! And trust me, nobody wants to repeat medieval toilet technology. Comment below with your favorite medieval nightmare fuel, or let us know which historical period you'd like us to roast next. Just remember, no matter how bad your day is going, at least you're not living in an era where the cure for everything was either bloodletting or prayer, and sometimes both simultaneously. Hit that notification bell And remember, history doesn't repeat, but it definitely rhymes. And most of those rhymes involve people making spectacularly stupid decisions with complete confidence. Until next time, this is Midnight Meme Historian reminding you that the past was a nightmare, but at least it's entertainingly horrifying.